moving on to going right into our main topic, I want to go ahead and allow you guys to go ahead and just talk about your movie, explain, and tell us the motivations behind it.
Awesome. Yeah, I just realized as well in my intro, I forgot to say what I do. So we own a production company, and on ZombieCON Volume 1, I was a co-writer and producer, and I acted as Claire. But ZombieCON Volume 1 is an anime-inspired feature film, so anime fans, this one's right for you. It's about a group of 4 cosplaying best friends, and one of them accidentally triggers a zombie apocalypse. So only the assholes in the world turn into zombies in this film. It's got a lot of carnage, it's got comedy, it's got a lot of heart. It's kind of runs the gambit. So if you like your horror movies also to have that, this one's right up for you, 100%.
Before we get started, I just want to allow my guests the opportunity to introduce themselves, basically tell everybody what you do, where you're from, and also tell us your favorite horror film and why.
Hi, everyone. I'm Erin Áine. I'm from Atlanta originally. Kyle and I actually lived in Los Angeles for like a decade plus and just moved back to Atlanta. And I'm going to have to go today, because it's always changing, with Train to Busan as my favorite horror movie, because the rewatchability is insane. It's not only my favorite zombie movie right now, I'd say it's my top horror movie too. I love the characters. I love the action. I love this like amount of heart that's in it as well. It always gets me crying at the end. I think it's like an amazing, amazing film.
And I'm Kyle Valle. I'm a director, writer, producer, kind of jack of all trades in terms of movie making. And my favorite horror movie, again, like Erin said, it kind of is always changing. It's always hard to nail down a specific one. But if I had to pick one at this exact moment in time, it'd probably be John Carpenter's The Thing. And it's chiefly because like I love obviously the alien aesthetic and the immense like physical danger that the crew is set in, but I'm a big kind of narrative character guy. And I love the psychological aspect of that film, especially, you know, when they've got everyone lined up and they're testing to see, okay, you know, with the match or whatever, and they're trying to figure out who is this alien, and kind of like people not trusting each other, and, you know, that whole dynamic and the psychological aspect, as well as like the allusion to a bigger story, right? When we first get into this spacecraft and it's kind of like out in the middle of nowhere and it's taken over like this other base. And now we're dealing with it with this other base of the larger story that's kind of hinted at, which is always exciting for me because I like big narrative kind of, you know, anime-esque worlds that could be explored even deeper. Now, obviously, we didn't really get to that, but, you know, it would have been cool to see like, you know, what John Carpenter would have done with like Thing 2, Thing 3, and how that basically evolved and terrorized humanity on a large scale.
For sure. So do you like the older version of the movie or the reboot?
So are you saying the black and white one, the John Carpenter version, like the second one, or like the new one that Universal did, like in the last 10 years?
Yeah, that's basically what I'm talking about, because I just recently watched it, but I watched the newest version of the movie, and I thought that was pretty good.
No, it's great. The remake is great. The middle one, that was like shot in like the 80s, I think.
Okay,
that for me holds a special place in my heart because I saw it when I was a kid, and you know, the imagination is like firing super hardcore. Like the fear factor is like dialed up to 12 because I was probably like, I don't know, 8 or something when I watched it. So, you know, the practical effects I'm also a huge fan of, and they're perfect in the first one. And it's a shame with the remake. A lot of it, if I'm remembering correctly, was actually CG, but on set they did almost everything practically. And then I think like a producer or something came in and like, you know, maybe it was the studio behind it was like, oh, this, you know, it doesn't look good enough or something. And they replaced it all with like CGI, which like was like the craze back then. And now we're kind of like gone full circle with it. I feel like Infinity Wars had like the best CG that we've ever seen in a movie. Like the way they did Thanos in that movie, like top tier. I don't think we've ever gotten back to that point, to be honest. Like that was, I mean, it was indistinguishable from like an actual actor. There are a couple scenes, especially when they're fighting on his homeworld, and Spider-Man's like up on his head or whatever. Like they're trying to get obviously the glove off, but the mantis is up on his head and like touching his try to put him to sleep.
Yeah.
And I still don't know if that was like a practical Thanos head or a CGI Thanos head. I can't figure, like, I don't think it was practical, but it looks so real. It's absolutely insane to me.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that because I have to say I think Disney been really killing it in the animation department. Even kind of before that, if I'm thinking correctly, if the Star Wars Force Awakens came out before that, but how that movie looked, it was amazing. And that was my first time even seeing Star Wars, and I was like, oh god dang, the way they made it look was amazing. I felt like you could actually go there to some of the planets. So,
dude, absolutely. I'd say, yeah, the way that special effects have allowed us to explore space specifically, it's been really amazing. And I was actually just, funnily enough, literally 30 minutes ago, watching a documentary on 2001, which was opposite, of course. Stanley Kubrick back in the day, before any visual effects, did it all practically in camera. And that kind of set the stage for what would come after, and all the, Star Wars movies, of course, and all the space kind of, Guardians of the Galaxy, whenever we travel to different worlds. But it's crazy to see those two different sides of the coin. But yeah, it's the things they can do with the spaceship specifically has been awesome.
Oh yeah.
I think if you also want to watch kind of some films that kind of show the difference in special effects throughout the years, you can watch the Harry Potter films, because I keep redoing the redo. But if you watch it from when the first one came out to how like the last one, oh, it's so crazy, man. The difference in how things throughout the years is amazing. But I just want to go in and tell you guys my top scary movie. And just like you guys, it changes all the time. I'm a huge Halloween fan. I love Halloween. Think Jamie Lee Curtis really makes the franchise. I think them bringing her back was an amazing idea. But for this one, I had to go with, I don't know if you guys know it, because I don't know a lot of people that really talk about it, but the movie Case 39.
Oh, no.
Oh, I really enjoy this movie. I really like a lot of paranormal movies, and it's kind of similar with that. But basically, it kind of starts off with this family kind of throwing their daughter in this oven, and you're kind of just thrown there. You're like, oh my god, damn, what's going on? But then when the movie kind of starts breaking down, because our main character is the social worker, and she sees this, she takes the daughter, and she's like, oh my god, you parents are crazy, throws them in jail. But then you realize that this girl is like the spawn of Satan, and
oh my god,
they really had a legit reasons to do what they were doing. Because now the social worker that it took her from this place now is in the predicament where they're like, yeah, now you're gonna have to do it. Because that's the only way, because it's crazy. And I feel like watching a lot of horror movies, I kind of like the thing of least surprise, when you don't expect something to be something, and sometimes having little kids be the most dangerous people, and you just don't expect that. It's just crazy, because the girl comes off sweet and everything, you would even fall for it. But then later, and after like 30-40 minutes in the movie, you're like, oh my god, I didn't fuck up. You're like, Jesus.
Yeah, the parents are probably like, thank you for protecting us.
Oh man, it's one of those situations where it's like, we might have to go to jail, but she's gone. We try to do everything. Nobody wanted to listen. Go ahead, you take her.
We'll take the L.
And then about 45 minutes later, when you coming back talking to us, like, oh, everything you're saying was right. Now we can look at you like, oh, really? Oh.
Can I come join you in that cell? Someone else take her.
I want to ask you guys, how do you guys feel about like other type of horror movies, like in such of like paranormal movies or slashers, and movies that are kind of more adjacent to what's happening in real life, which I kind of stay away from, because I kind of like having your horror movies be like villains, like, that can never really happen. And then having those movies where you're like, damn, that could be my neighbor.
The psychological ones, the ones that get me. Like, I'm fine with slashers, like that's fine, the gory, the body horror, but the real like psychological ones, ugh. I remember what was it? The Ring got me when I was younger. I waited like a month to watch that movie, and I'm like, I need to wait and see like other people if they're gonna, die after 7 days. Let's just give it a month to make sure. And I think I'd even, funny enough, watched the Scary Movie before I had seen The Rings. I'd seen the parody, and I still, that and The Grudge, like I was still terrified when I watched it.
That is so funny because I've literally just watched both of those series, The Grudge and The Ring, just recently, and I have to say that those were pretty good. I've just seen the updated versions of The Ring because I think they just put out some new movies or just a new movie of it, and that was pretty not as good as the other ones, the first two of them, but they were good. And The Grudge, I finished the first one. I didn't watch the second one, but I thought it was cool, the whole idea of it being in Japan, because I've never seen a movie like that, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. It was epic. And I have to throw in there as well What Lies Beneath, because that was my first horror film that I ever watched and just absolutely scared the shit out of me. And the bath scene with Michelle Pfeiffer and Harrison Ford, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's so scary that I was scared to take a bath. I don't think I took a bath for like a year. And then I would jump in and out of the showers like real fast. I was like, I'm not messing with this.
I definitely got to check that out. I don't think I've seen that. Okay.
Yeah, it's well done. I mean, I haven't seen it since I was a kid. I don't even know if I ever watched it again, but it still lives rent free in my mind, clearly.
Yeah, and for me, I think that I'm kind of all over the place. I'm a bit of a cinephile, so if it's a good movie, I pretty much love it. But when it comes to horror specifically, things that really get to me mentally, like Poltergeist, the original It, I thought like with Tim Curry, like that was just so creepy. The way he brought the Pennywise to like the screen was just insane. And again, I struggle with this one because I don't know if you'd classify it as a horror or a science fiction, but I've heard enough people classify it as a horror. I would go with Alien, and Aliens is like, to me, that's not really a horror film. It's much more action, but that's like my favorite movie of all time. So again, kind of like what you said, like, I don't know if I want to be watching a movie and be like, oh yeah, that's my neighbor. So I like an element of fantasy that's kind of, whether it's, a ghost or it's some sort of story mechanic that makes the world like different enough from reality where you're like, well, this can't actually happen. But at the same time, you're still terrified. And going back to that, like a Michael Myers would be very in that vein, right? It's like this unstoppable killing machine that, can get shot a million times. He's still coming. Like nothing you could do could stop this guy. But I mean, it still scared the shit out of me as a kid. Like that was horrifying.
For sure. It's one of those Halloween costumes when I was a kid that you can randomly see somebody in and they can always get you. Because some reason people want to dress up as that and they want to follow you and stuff. Like, man, calm down. It's too much. But for me, I have to say a lot of my favorite paranormal movies have to go more into the paranormal activity atmosphere. I am a huge fan of the Conjuring movies. I'm kind of mad they just ended it. Well, I guess you can also say where I kind of said that I don't like my movies to be real, because you can argue that those movies are based on real elements, which I argue, you know what I mean? We don't know actually what these people seen and saw. I just feel like a lot of people say some stuff and you're like, well, she's talking in her sleep. It must be a demon. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like it's just like, but I do like the movies and stuff and everything. And I don't know if you guys seen them and your opinions on them.
Oh no, I love that. I just watched the last one recently. Now I have a question. Would you take the Annabelle doll out of her case if you were in that basement?
No, I wouldn't. Only because I don't like to play with things, and I don't want to make something that shouldn't be real. You know what I mean? Because I'm one of those people, like I'll say something, then I'll knock on wood because I don't want to test faith, because how you just accidentally say something and then that becomes true. But nah, I just wouldn't want to play with that, and then some bull crap happened. Now I'm like, damn, like.
Why did I invite this into my life?
Yeah. I'm right.
Really, I wouldn't even touch anything in that. I wouldn't touch anything in that room. I would look, because I would be surprised and want to see what's going on, but I wouldn't touch nothing.
Well, that's the thing that killed me about the boyfriend, right? Who, like, the husband, and he's walking around that basement. They're like kind of explaining everything, and even after, right, everything goes down, he's like ready to take up the mantle. I'm like, I'm like, I'd be out of there. Like, I'd be
Hell
like,
no.
lock that door, put 20 locks on it, never entering again, and knock the house down on top of it.
But see, they always get you in every movie with the fact, because my first idea would be like, we just burn it. But then they like, well, it's better to keep the genie inside the container than to let him out. So I'm sitting there, you'd be like, somebody gotta stay here. But then every movie you got somebody keep going down there and then breaking open and touching stuff. So it's like you can't even really find a way to lock the door because people's curiosity is always gonna get the best of them. Only thing I think I didn't like about that movie, and from the last Conjuring movie, because I feel like the daughter has been with the family the longest. Yeah, I've been fighting demons and stuff. And I felt like she seemed new to like a lot of the stuff that was going on and making decisions where I'm like, well, y'all been doing this for too long for you to want to go up there and talk to the demon and like, why are you going there before your family? Like what's going on here? Like but I don't know. That was the only things I don't like. I'm one of those people who like watching horror movies because I like to see people dumb mistakes, but then I'm like, why are they doing that? Ugh.
I'm the type that I'll be shouting at the TV like, "Don't go in there! What are you doing?" But of course, like in real life, I probably would be a little curious. Or when they're running and they always trip, and I'm like, "How did you just fall?" It's like I would probably fall too.
Yeah, depending on what's chasing you, or if you're in your house and you hear something like a strange noise, like in my mind, when you're watching a movie, it's like I'm getting the hell up out of there. But I guess if it's your house, you're like, what the fuck is that? Like, I still got to pay mortgage next month, so fuck it. Like,
it's funny that you brought that up too, because we're actually in post-production on our second feature right now, and it takes place in a house, and I will just say some spooky stuff is going on where the guy is home alone and he hears a lot of sounds and things like that, and he can't really leave because he's trying to make a film. It's about a frustrated filmmaker trying to make his dream come true, and he's like super slyly trying to get this film done in like 2 days because his pregnant wife, who's like, you need to get a real job, is out of the house for the weekend. And so he's at the mother-in-law's place. He's trying to make the movie, and creepy stuff keeps happening. But it's the same thing. It's like, why wouldn't you leave? And it's like, well, if there's a good reason, you can't leave.
You know what I mean? But I want to kind of add on to something you guys said a little bit earlier, is that you guys are in Atlanta. And I think in your movie, it's based in California. Where did you actually film the movie?
We filmed it in Los Angeles.
Okay. And kind of moving on to going right into our main topic, I want to go ahead and allow you guys to go ahead and just talk about your movie, explain, and tell us the motivations behind it.
Awesome. Yeah, I just realized as well in my intro, I forgot to say what I do. So we own a production company, and on ZombieCON Volume 1, I was a co-writer and producer, and I acted as Claire. But ZombieCON Volume 1 is an anime-inspired feature film, so anime fans, this one's right for you. It's about a group of 4 cosplaying best friends, and one of them accidentally triggers a zombie apocalypse. So only the assholes in the world turn into zombies in this film. It's got a lot of carnage, it's got comedy, it's got a lot of heart. It's kind of runs the gambit. So if you like your horror movies also to have that, this one's right up for you 100%.
Okay. So when you were writing the movie and stuff, did you base these characters off of your actual friends, or are these imaginary people, or?
So the characters themselves, so the main cast, right? Obviously I'm married to Claire, or Erin, and Punky Johnson, who plays Punky in the film, she was my first roommate out in LA. We met at an acting workshop, like class type thing. And Christian Casillas, who plays Javier, met at the same acting workshop like a month later. And so we had kind of been rolling together in LA and, working with each other and kind of hanging out for years before we made this film. And Manny Luke, who plays Rocket, started as our intern for Big Squid Productions, and then within like 6 months became a partner in our business. So we've been working with him for a long time. So, and Carlo Mendez, who plays Xander, again, another guy I met at an acting class out in LA. and we had worked together on some stuff. So the main cast of characters, they're all the characters themselves are written to allow the actor to work freely within that character type, but I also know them very well, so I tried to do the best I could to take the aspects of their personality that I love and kind of push them to the extremes. So it's not fair to say like these are exact versions of them. Like these are definitely unique characters.
Rocket.
Well, especially Rocket. That's the most different from anyone. Like Manny's actually in real life the sweetest person you will ever meet in your entire life, and is like an absolute sweetheart. And Rocket is obviously, he's a bit of an ass. He's like totally on the other side of it. So that was probably the biggest acting challenge of anyone there. And of course, Carlo is not a demonic,
For sure.
So, inspired by real life, but original characters, and a lot of the influences for the characters came from my personal story. Like growing up in the early 90s, I've always been a big anime fan, even back when it wasn't really available. I didn't have community, no one to talk to about it. So a lot of those feelings of kind of like, getting bullied or not being understood for like, the things I was into, that's where a lot of those aspects of the story kind of come from, and how our characters are, constantly trying to deal with the outside world, which now I still think there are the haters out there, but I mean, anime has exploded. Like it went from, Toonami occasionally, or I think I started watching DBZ on like channel, like public television, like channel 8 or something, had it syndicated. So it run like one episode, and it would be completely out of order. So you would get like, a Raditz episode, then you get like a Dragon Ball episode. And I'm like, as a little kid, like 5 years old, I'm like, what the hell is happening? I love this thing, but I don't he's got a tail. He doesn't have a tail. Where did this guy come from? What are these balls doing?
Yeah.
But now it's like, it's fantastic. We're living in like the golden age of anime, where it's like, we can watch it the same day it comes out in Japan, like comes out over here. Like you can get manga, any episode or any chapter of manga you want. You could download it right on your phone now, which is like insanity.
And speaking of, we actually filmed this movie in 2016.
Yeah.
So it was literally like anime was, obviously a thing and big, but nowhere near the explosion and like global popularity that it is currently.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man, it mainly the pandemic boom, and then you just see anime taking over I think Demon Slayer is the top movie of this year right now, and just sales wise, which is crazy to think that a movie from Japan, also an anime featured movie that's not even really its own movie, it's kind of like still talking about like part of the actual manga. So it's like crazy to me to think that's like the top movie right now. But yeah, this is an amazing time, and I love all the anime aesthetic in the movie. I love all the posters from the I think Javier, he wears the Dragon Ball Z hoodie to the shirt and the Zanpakutōs. That's kind of something I just kind of wanted to bring into, because you wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit. But I love seeing all the Zanpakutōs. I think when the movie starts off, you see the scene where Claire takes one of them and stabs one of the zombies. And when I first seen it, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be epic. Like, I think the only thing that could have made it better is if the swords were doing the abilities. Like if they were doing the ability, it would have been just breathtaking right there. But you get a scene when you see Renji Zanpakutō, and you're like, oh my god, are they about to use that and split open the zombie? Could you talk about that and the choice of using those weapons versus using other type of weapons? Or
so yeah, I mean, I've always been a huge like katana in general fan. Rurouni Kenshin was like one of my, back in the days, like one of my favorite anime, still is, but that kind of got me into kendo. So I did kendo for a little bit, and I actually got lucky enough. I used like my graduation present from high school. I was able to get like a folded steel katana, and then went about cutting down like every tree in the backyard that I could actually. I got stuck in a few of them. It's chipped, it's like broken, but I had so much fun with that thing. So I think that was like the seed of like, well, if I ever do a movie, like I want to have like obviously some heavy katana influence. And then when we were going through like, okay, well, I didn't want guns to really be used because everyone's seen a movie with, zombies and guns. And I wanted, not everyone's got guns. So I'm like, well, what would a cosplayer have readily available? And I'm like, well, they would have, cosplay katanas, collectible katanas. This is the stuff that I have. So I'm like, great. And then as I had a budget, I was like, well, even though it was a small budget, only $60,000 for us, that was like, might as well have been $1 million. I got to go on like an Amazon shopping spree. And I'm like, I got to fill out this apartment. Cool. Okay. So, and then I tried to like find characters in anime that, were not like direct mirrors to the characters themselves, but like the swords, I wanted the swords to there be a reason for why the characters had these swords and kind of there to be like a deeper layer of meaning for people who understood the references to kind of go deeper into these characters. And these were their favorite swords. And you can, draw your own conclusion on why that character had that favorite sword. But at the time, like Bleach was like, is still one of my favorite anime, but like I was like really heavy into Bleach when we were like getting started with production. So I was like,
okay.
There are a ton. I mean, I get a ton of swords from Bleach. Like I can get them all pretty cheap off Amazon because budget was also a constraint and they were very available. So it just kind of naturally went in that direction. Now, if we had made the movie in like 2000, let's say we made the movie in 2024, I think you would have seen a lot of Demon Slayer swords just because they would have been cheaper. And obviously I'm big into Demon Slayer too. And they would have probably been a little bit more like on people's, consciousness. And they understand like the Hashira's swords are, I mean, super awesome. So you could have gone a million directions with that. But at the time, Bleach was like the main, stay in town. And of course, there are a couple One Piece swords in there. And then I think we've got Inuyasha's sword is in there. I think that's the one Javier is using for a bit of the movie. So
I didn't even notice that one.
Yeah, every sword on that wall is all a direct anime sword. I think the one Rocket uses is actually, and I always forget the name of these, but it's the red sword that Zoro picks up in Wano, I believe.
Okay. Oh, I forget the names of those swords too, but I know exactly which one you're talking about. Hey, I feel like it was just on the tip of my tongue. It's just like just went away. Oh man. But I think that's pretty cool that you were able to bring those elements into it. What you said a little bit kind of I thought it was interesting that you said you would have probably used Demon Slayer swords because they're more popular kind of bit right now. And I was gonna be like, well, you got the 1,000-Year Blood War kind of like right too. So it's kind of like, it would have been kind of hard to kind of figure out a bit more popular. But I guess the movie kind of telling you too, like.
That's true. Although I'll tell you, if we did make it now, you're right. If we could have gotten a hold of Ichigo's like new Zanpakutō, like that double, that would have been awesome.
That probably you would have written a scene, one of the zombie kills around that sword.
I would have tried
100%.
For sure. Also, I want to say when you were giving your introduction, Erin, for some reason I thought you looked like Claire in the movie, but you actually saying that I was like, oh, okay. That makes sense.
It's me.
For my first question, I kind of want to ask you guys is basically, could you explain the process of making this film and how long did it kind of take to make the script and casting it and everything?
So writing the script came together pretty quickly. I'd say it was under a month from kind of idea conception to finished script. Because we were writing, we knew we were going to have a low budget. We only thought we'd have like a couple $1,000s. We thought we'd have way less than we ended up getting. We wrote it specifically around locations that we knew we could get, right? So the apartment, that was our apartment, that we, the Rockets apartment. Big
if it actually
Mama's
looks
house.
Like that, it's dope. That's an amazing apartment.
Oh yeah.
We left everything up too.
Yeah, and it only got crazier throughout the years because I kept adding to that collection too. It's like, yeah. Like by the time we left, it was probably 4 times more full of scrolls and like all kinds of stuff that I'd collected at all these cons that we had gone to, like kind of promoting the film and stuff. And like we got then big into Funko Pops because when we were making the movie, like they were kind of newer. Like there were a couple out there. I remember there's definitely the first like Super Saiyan Goku Funko Pop is in the film. But like they didn't have like as many. I mean, obviously Funko's like exploded, and it's like every character from every pop culture genre that you could ever imagine, 10 different variants now. But back then it was like super limited. But yeah, anyway,
So the writing was pretty quick.
writing was quick. The casting, because I wrote the characters for people that I knew about. The main cast was like basically locked in from the very beginning. Erin actually took care of the rest of the casting once we got a budget. And she held
professional casting sessions in Los Angeles, sent out the call, all the usual sources, websites and whatnot. I had actors and agents and managers submitting their actors and coming in to read. So I'd say about half the cast was traditional casting, because the other half was friends or people that we had worked with in the past, actors, and brought back, because we had shot a lot of short films and web series, and being in Los Angeles, a lot of actors.
For sure.
Yeah, and so, but the coolest casting story was that I was actually, check your DMs, especially the hidden section, because I was messaging local Los Angeles cosplayers and saying, hey, do you want to wear your cosplay and come be in a movie? We're throwing a fake con. It'd be really cool to have real cosplayers and you wearing your cosplay. And we got probably like a dozen, maybe a little less, that said, I would like to be in a movie. I will be there. I will be rocking my cosplay. So that I think was also really cool for lending the authenticity. And if you're doing a movie about cosplayers, like you got to have some actual cosplayers in the movie too. So not that we weren't as well, but filling out the con scene, it just made it feel that much more real.
Yeah. And so after the casting was done, right, we had to get a few of the locations, like the underground tunnels, the alleyway, the rooftop, the liquor store. All of that went pretty smoothly, except for the liquor store, which was originally written in a bar. And we had locked down the bar. We had got this whole negotiation done, contract signed and everything. And like 2 days before shooting or 3 days before shooting, I get a call from the bar manager who says, yeah, we're canceling the contract. You can sue us if you want. Of course, we don't have enough. He knew we didn't have enough money to sue him. So, whatever. But they had another big time movie come in and rent that location. And so I thought we were totally screwed. But the next phone call I got was from a producer on that big film. And he's like, hey, we're taking your location. How much money do you need? What do you want to pay us to like let us have this location? Because I guess they're really litigious and making sure they're not kind of crossing any legal lines. And even though we couldn't have done anything really, I guess they wanted to make sure everything was buttoned up. So
that was dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I looked at her, I was like, well, how much do we tell them we need? Because I don't know where we're going to shoot this now. We got to find a location in 3 days. So I'm like, should I tell him like $800? And she's like, yeah, do $800. I was like, can you do $800? The guy's like, oh yeah, $800. Yeah,
I can throw that out my pocket.
And I looked at her and I was like, oh, we should have asked for like.
We didn't know how big of a shoot it possibly was, because the bar owner had just alluded to the fact that it was a bigger shoot. So we thought it was going to be maybe another indie film like ours. So we weren't trying to sit here and like highway robbery them, because we thought they were doing them a solid. But yeah, it became pretty apparent with their relief. Like, oh, that's nothing.
Oh yeah. And then like someone drove by and they were like, casting crew trucks. Like it was clearly like I don't know what film it was, but it was something that cost
Studio
like
film.
20, 30, something millions of dollars. But we ended up, again, 3 days we're like scoping out where do we get this shooting location. And we used to go to that corner store, was actually around the corner from our apartment. And so out of desperation, I asked him, I'm like, can we rent your spot to like shoot this scene? And the guy's like, yeah, but it's 4th of July in 3 days. Like, you want to shoot here on 4th of July? That's kind of a big business day. And I was like,
yeah.
Well, how do we make this work? He's like, okay, you can shoot here for $800, but you've got to shoot between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. And I was like, okay, we'll take it.
We'll take it.
So
we were like literally chasing the sunrise to get that done. And it's a long scene because there's a lot of dialogue. We cut it down. There was even more in the original edit. But yeah, production was actually, all things considered, pretty smoothly, because we were able to shoot primary principal photography in 1 month in Los Angeles in July. And then came the post-production hell afterward that lasted like 8 years, 8 or 9 years. And it included, re-editing the film, cutting it back apart. COVID then happened, and Kyle literally ripped it apart from the ground up and rebuilt it because we are self-taught. We're not we didn't go to film school. And so he was also teaching himself a lot of the skills learning as he was going with it. So that's another
Okay.
reason it took a long time. And then to get the right distributor. And then, as we were talking right before we started filming, there's a lot of contracts and deliverables and so many things that take time. So it was kind of like we didn't know that we were going to be on like our anime heroes journey with the
God.
post-production.
I'll tell you, our post-production journey made Steak Way look short. Like that's
So how long did it take you to kind of really understand the elements of like pacing and storytelling, and this needs to happen for this to make sense, and this stuff, like, you know what I mean? Like, how long did it take you to actually get that?
I don't know. I think that just kind of once the script was in place, a lot of those kind of transition, like in my head, right? I'd seen the movie when I wrote the script. So even though we had to change some stuff due to challenging, filming requirements and not necessarily getting everything that we wanted, there were a couple more crazy zombie elements in the script that were like, I had a zombie head being decapitated and like it continued to talk and all this stuff. And like the makeup artist who's fantastic on the film, Joseph Drabesco, who had all the practical effects. He's just looking at me. He's like, it's like, what are you talking about? Like, you have a decapitated head and you want it talking? Do you have any idea how much that's going to cost? And I'm like, I mean, we could just have the actor lay down and like throw a green sheet over him. We kind of green screen about, like I'm still talking. So I had an idea on how to do it, but like some bigger elements like that had to get nixed in order to just get the film done. But in terms of story wise and beats, it basically came together the same way the script did. The biggest challenge was in the edit after, I'd say, year like 3, 4, 5 into year like 9, where you're QCing a film, right? So watching it back and watching every single element, because we did everything ourselves, we didn't have it outsourced to anyone. So when you're doing Foley footsteps, now I've got to sit there for, the entire runtime of the film and watch just with the Foley footsteps back to make sure I didn't miss a footstep. And then I've got to do that for the clothing rustle. I've got to do that for all the, sword pulls and, Foley effects or special effects or whatever it is. And a word of caution I would say to any indie filmmakers who are trying to like go at it themselves is that be careful not to get in your own head, because after you watch the movie back that many times and you've broken it down so meticulously, you may start changing things that you probably shouldn't have. So maybe, I think the end,
Right.
like the first run time was maybe like an hour and 35 minutes. And then we ended up at like an hour or 2 hours. And then we had to cut it back down to like an hour. And I think it's now like
50
hour and 50 minutes. And a lot of that was, potentially kind of getting in our own way and then having to learn from how we got in our own way and then strip it back down. So it was a bit of a kind of a mind, like,
FUCK.
Yeah, I was trying to find a polite way to say that. But it was also a great learning thing. So I don't know if I think the film only benefited from everything we ended up doing because we just kept getting better. But mentally, it was absolutely exhausting to go through that and to feel like you're almost there. You're almost there. Oh, you're not there yet. Okay, now restart that. Okay, well, now fix that. Or why wasn't this working? And it was because of something all the way on the left side of the screen. Like, okay, well, that scene didn't work because the music wasn't mixed correctly. So now you mix the music correctly, but you've already changed the edit because you thought the edit was the thing that wasn't working, but the edit was actually fine. So now you've got to go back to the original edit. And each one of these steps, you've got to recolor correct things. And Manny, who played Rocket, did like all the visual effects, especially for the zombie eyes. So he had to rotoscope out all the zombie eyes, and he would give me like 12 layers of different colors for the eyes on the ungraded film. I would take those, I would color correct all of them, layer them in the final edit, and then use masks and different kind of opacities on those layers to create the final look for the zombie eye, while still trying to retain some of that natural reflection that we picked up on the eyeball in the actual shot. So every time,
that's a lot.
A lot of work.
And then the anime itself, like something I was like, oh yeah, I'll it'll just be like up there for like a minute or whatever. And then it turned out to be like, I think we have like 15 minutes of full animation in total. Because once I started, I was like, I kind of can keep going with this sequence. I don't want to have to cut away, because I don't want the lack of anime to be the reason why we're cutting this or moving here or changing this camera angle. And once you're in the zone on animation, I found it just to be easier to keep going. But that, just drawing that anime by myself and like animating it and, editing it and putting it together and making it all work, I think it took like a year of my life. Like, it was,
wow. Now you got to give you guys props for 8 years of just editing. I don't even know if I can do that, because I know just editing my episodes for podcasts, after I listen to myself about 10 times, I'm done. I don't care what it sounds like. Like, it's going out. But
I know what you mean.
For my next question, I want to ask you is basically, how did you guys basically fund this movie? Did you guys go through like crowd searching websites, or have donations come in and stuff like that? Or
we did launch an Indiegogo campaign, and it largely, it was somewhat successful. We came nowhere near our ultimate goal, but we did raise, I don't know, maybe
$7,000, something like that. But the great thing about the Indiegogo, we had done a really good job on creating all the assets for the Indiegogo, laying out the story, doing, videos explaining what we were going to do. And that got us a private investor who came in and supplied the like $53,000 more. And then, of course, as we were on this 10-year journey, it was a lot of just us, finding money wherever we could to, throw at this. Like, you need a new hard drive, or you need new, whatever it is, to just keep accumulating stuff as the movie keeps getting longer. That computer blew up, get a new computer, stuff like that. So
the things you don't know too, right? Until like, we would have probably hired out for that anime, for example, had you known how long it would have taken, or for the rotoscoping of the eye.
Well, we didn't have the money to do that.
But we didn't have at any point, right? Like, the money to do that either. So it was like a catch-22.
what would you say you spent a lot of your money on doing?
I think it's just the time that it took to get the movie done. Like you've got to find a way to survive while you're making this thing, and it's taking up so much time. That's time you don't have to work or make money doing something else. So that was, I think it was just the cost of the physical time, and what that time could have been spent on doing something else was like the most expensive thing.
Okay. Moving on to my next question, I want to ask you guys is mainly about the special effects and stuff. While watching the movie, I see that you guys use a lot of stabbing weapons. You didn't use any guns or anything, stuff like that, which you kind of explained a little bit earlier that you kind of wanted to stay away from. I know there's a lot of scenes where you would stab, you would show the scene of blood getting squirted on them, but you wouldn't really show them stabbing the actual zombie. Was that like a special effects thing, or you didn't want to show that, or more of a cosplay type?
It just comes down to what is possible within the budget that we had and the special effects, trying to make it as convincing as possible. Like with the Devon stabbing, we've got a couple of the inserts to like the chest, which we could have done a little bit more of that, as we learned in the post-production journey. A lot of those were insert shots that we shot at a later point, and slipped it into the footage. But at a certain point, I really wanted it to be about the blood, on the characters. Again, I'm trying to, in my mind, I was always trying to not make it like a live action anime, but take as many kind of anime tropes as I could and put it into a live action movie. So in my mind, and the anime that I've loved, the big blood sprays are a big thing. Now, I always did want to have a pile of intestines just fall out and hit the floor. You'll see someone committing seppuku or something, and any number of anime, and they always have that great shot where like the steam's rising up off the intestines and stuff like that. But it's just time and budget. It's your two worst enemies as an indie filmmaker because you don't have the ability to do everything you want. So it's just trying to find that balance of what we could do, what we could also do to make it look realistic. Again, limited by the budget. There are things we could have tried, but I wasn't 100% sure that it would have looked, you know, as good as possible. And the kind of balancing act was, well, I know we can do this, and I'm going to give a little bit of a spoiler. I'll try to avoid it, but at the end of the film, there's that one scene where there's that grab that kind of comes through, and I won't say anything more than that, but that was one that I knew how to do, so we could get that all in camera. And like the sword plunge into another zombie, the neighbor, I'll say, you know, that was another thing that we like had a very good idea about how to do. But without having any kind of compressed air technology, like there are no squibs. Again, we didn't use guns, but we didn't have like, so like in Aliens, for example, right? When Bishop gets the tail of the Queen Alien put through his chest, to make that effect, they actually had to use like a special type of material that would harden when it got wet, and they like pulled it out with a string. And like, you know, not only is it extremely expensive, it's people who are masters of that craft and, you know, all working together in a team of like 6 people or something to get that effect. And we had a crew of, I think, 5 people, like on the best of days. Some days it was just me, you know, with a camera with like a pole holding a boom pole down or something like that. Like,
wow, okay. That makes sense. That was something I was thinking about, because some of the scenes where you be thinking, you'd be like, well, you know, it seemed like it's taking them like 13 stabs to kill these zombies. You know, why don't you just go get a sledgehammer and just bang his head or something like that? But then I was like, maybe they're trying to stay with the aesthetic of cosplayers and stuff like that. So I was like, maybe that was kind of what was kind of limited in them. But then you also got to think some special effects and just trying to actually hit it on camera is just going to be hard, because our imagination can see it, yes, but actually showing that and making it look actually real is probably going to be almost hard as hell, or unless you're good at what, like doing special effects on the computer and stuff like that, you know what I mean, like CGI.
Yeah, and I'd say the cosplaying aspect, like trying to be as realistic as possible. Like, these are cosplayers, these are people who love anime and like, you know, are totally into this sphere. There is a little bit of like the survival element that you get with Punky, where like she's like big into like, you know, the survival YouTubers and stuff. So like she kind of has an idea on how to do some of this stuff like after the apocalypse breaks out. But like, you know, Rocket is a guy who, you know, spends a day crafting EVA foam and graphic designs on a computer. You know, Claire spends her day sewing costumes together, and like in their imagination, they know what they think they would do in a zombie apocalypse. But they're still kind of freaking out like the whole time, just like I would be freaking out if like a zombie attacked me. As a filmmaker, I'd be like, oh yeah, no, I'd grab this weapon. This is exactly how I dismember it. And I could tell you that right here in this interview. But if it came through the door and it was all of a sudden on top of me, I'm pretty sure all those plans are going out the window, and I'm going to be running around like, oh, grab something, do something.
That kind of reminds me of the first zombie kill you have, when you basically have everybody kind of rolling around and in the room. The choreography was kind of hilarious to me. I like seeing Claire come out of nowhere and was like the actual person trying to kill the zombie in that moment, and everybody's looking around like, "What are you doing?" Like, I will say their perspective, it is worth it, because it's like they don't know this is a zombie. This could just be a regular person. If you just stab it, they're like, and they're like, "Oh my god, you just murdered them." You know what I mean? Like,
that was my favorite scene to film, for sure. I mean, from an acting perspective, it's just gold, knowing that they didn't know and they think I'm a murderer.
Well, it's also your ex-boyfriend, so it's like
who
you hate. So they're like, oh, she's got some real beef with this guy, and he's coming in here, and now she's like, finally, like, she's lost it.
So explaining that scene more with her boyfriend. So the problem she had was that Rocket was inviting him over to the house to eat pizza, and then she didn't want him to come, and he was the reason her family died.
No, so that was her ex-boyfriend, but so there's a deleted scene. There's a couple of these deleted scenes in the extended version on the DVD that, kind of tell a little bit more of these backstories that weren't absolutely necessary for the film.
Mhm.
But the whole basically meta story behind that is his father owns that pizza shop. He's basically like a super spoiled brat, but like one of the things his father makes him do to, try to get him to work is he's got to deliver pizza occasionally.
Oh,
And so they've got the best pizza in town. So like Rocket is like completely cares less that like, he works there, that he's associated with that. He just wants the pizza. So he's calling to get that. And Claire's like, do not call that place because he's going to deliver the pizza here. And I don't want to see him. Like, I don't want to deal with, I don't want him near us. I don't want him in the apartment complex. Like, I don't want to be anywhere close to this guy.
But Rocket had to get that pizza.
So yeah, that was like kind of the meta story behind that. In terms of Claire's family, she just that was something that happened. Again, this is something that's explained in a deleted scene that I don't even think made it into the DVD.
I don't think so.
A lot of this stuff we had to just lose because it was going too esoteric into the backstory of the characters. But Claire lost her family to a drunk driver. When they were, when she was a small kid. So that's kind of reinforcing the asshole kind of mentality thing because she's like, this person stole my family from me because of their selfish decisions type stuff.
See, I had got it crossed because I was thinking she was saying the boyfriend had killed her parents and he was inviting them over. And I was like, well, yeah, I would think he's an asshole too. Like, like I'll be on that whole train. Moving on to my next question I want to ask you guys basically is, even like going before the film and everything, were you guys cosplayers within yourself?
Yeah, I started when I was like, I started before I even knew what cosplay was. I was like 5, I think, was my first like technical cosplay. I got to do Indiana Jones and like go into the Disney World theme park. And that was like with the leather jacket and the 90-degree heat and go to the stunt show spectacular and stuff like that.
Yeah, the whip and everything.
Oh yeah.
So cute.
It was, and like the big plastic machete and all that stuff. And like back when they used to sell like the 6-shooters at Disney World or Disneyland or Disney World rather, and they like had the big orange tips on the front, like the orange handles and all that stuff.
For sure.
But yeah, that was kind of always a part of my world growing up. I grew up in northern New Jersey, so I was able to go to like there were a couple small horror conventions because again, this is early 90s, so the dark ages for this type of stuff. We now live in a world where like every state has like, some pretty epic cons and like you can always find one. They're happening pretty regularly. Back then they were much fewer and far between. And I know that like my first big con that I got to go to, we went on a family trip to Las Vegas. And it just happened to coincide with a big Star Trek convention that was happening. And like my dad's a huge Trekkie, so he took me to the convention, and like that was like the eye-opening, experience, getting to see all the vendor booths and getting to see like professional. I viewed them as professional cosplayers, like people in like stuff that it looked like it was literally straight out of the movie with these crazy headpieces and dressed like different aliens and all this stuff. And that's like where my like true blue love affair with con culture kind of started. And then it just, whenever I could get into it from there, I would just try to get in where I could and enjoy it for whatever time I had or extra money I had. But the pickings were slim back then. They have gotten way better.
Man, it's crazy.
I was a huge nerd growing up, and I'm so glad that you brought up Harry Potter earlier because that is like my be-all, end-all entryway. I mean, I like Pokemon too, but Pokemon was popular in our youth. Harry Potter, I got in early. I think by like the 3rd book or so, my sister had cottoned on, so I was cottoning on to it. And I would make my mom go and take us to the midnight opening at the library or at the bookstore when the books would be released for every single one then on. And I would binge read like all night until I would basically be passed out, falling asleep. And I cosplayed as Hermione when I went to the movie theaters and I had the broomstick and everything, got my hair all like crazy. But yeah, Harry Potter is my, still to this day, be all like end all fandom.
So now I have to ask you, do you prefer the books or do you prefer the movies?
I mean, for me, the books will always have my heart. because I read them first. I mean, I had the audio tapes as well. I would listen to those things until they fell apart, and I had to get other ones. I guess that was also my first experience with collecting too. This is bringing back memories. I would get like any kind of Harry Potter paraphernalia, and I had it all set up on my desk. I even got a quill and an ink pot, and I was practicing writing like on fake parchment paper.
Wow, that is amazing. Okay.
I love the movies too. The movies were incredible, and they did the books justice. They really did. And I think having J.K. Rowling there, just like with Oda for the One Piece live action, like when you've got the creator that's hands-on and making a lot of the decisions, like it really stays way more faithful, I think, to the source material.
Yeah, the quality control is there. Yeah, for sure.
So what you think about the new series they about to do?
I am trepidatious just because it was perfect. Like I can't imagine it being done more perfectly than it already was. I'm curious. I'm gonna watch it, but it's like Lord of the Rings. Like for me,
it's
those
like
are like
remaking Lord of the
they're done
Rings.
perfectly. It's
Yeah.
like remaking Jaws. Like I don't know what you're gonna improve upon. It's so good, but
Right.
it is.
They might be able to go into more detail though with a longer
That's
format
true.
and kind of flush out more scenes. And that's what I'm really interested in seeing. Like, I hope it's not just like another, biggest hits of the movie type thing. And I hope that they take time to explore, especially, and they did it kind of like the last two movies, right? So the last book, they did a good job, I felt like, of hitting every single point that happens in the book, but nothing had time to breathe. It was like this detail, that detail, this detail. And it was just to get through that runtime, even with 4 hours, you had to just kind of machine gun it. I hope, if it, this TV show, if they give it enough money, right, and they give it enough time, if they could spend like a whole season per book or something, and I don't know what their plan is. I mean, we could get some really awesome content because I would love to see a lot of the scenes that were never committed to film
True.
kind of flushed out and explored, and some of the side characters. And and I think the movies did a great job of adapting the books because you just didn't have time to do everything. But with a long form TV show like this, it could be very exciting. If they decide to go in that direction.
And it'll bring it back for younger audiences. Like this will be like their Harry Potter because it's the one that they're growing up with as it's coming out, and they're getting to see it in movie theaters. So I get like spreading the love and reigniting it, for another generation too.
Yeah,
for sure. I think talking to a lot of people that have read the books, the main thing they want to see is, I guess, the main characters kind of done correctly. Because I hear a lot of people say they don't like how Ron was done. They played him to be more stupid in the movies, where I guess in the books he's way more smarter. It makes a lot of the decisions that you see Hermione makes in the films be actually his ideas in the books. So I'm like, okay, that'd be cool to kind of see that. And I guess we get to see a more Hermione, because I guess in the movies they make her more of a goody two shoes, and in the books she's not really a goody two shoes. She's like more willing to fight you hands up in the books. But see, I've never read the books, so I don't know. This is just what people tell me. But
I would highly recommend. I don't know if you like audiobooks. I'm a huge audiobook guy myself, but the Harry Potter audiobooks, the guy who reads it, I think his name is Jim Dale, and he does a fantastic job, like really, really good job of putting you into that world. And especially while you're like editing or doing something where you can have one ear kind of doing something while your other ear does something else, I would highly recommend it. It's fantastic.
Okay. Well, jumping back into our interview, we're kind of winding down to our last two questions. I don't want to keep you guys too long. For my next question, I want to ask you basically is, what do you want people to take away from this film? And what was the overall lesson you were trying to convey?
I would say definitely be true to yourself, to your passions, and sticking with your friends and the ones that have your back, that know you and love you for who you are. Like take care of your friends and take care of whatever found family or family that you have. But I think where I started off is the main one. Like be true to your passions. Don't be scared and don't be embarrassed and don't feel like just because the world is judging you or might judge you that you can't be proud and showing passion for what you love.
Yeah. And I would tack on to that. I'd just be like, it's never too late to not be an asshole. Like, it's being an asshole is a choice.
That's true.
I would love to live in a world where everyone, took possibly the harder route and, took a deep breath and just wasn't an asshole. I think it'd make everyone a lot happier. So, and always keep a good katana, in your apartment. You never know when you're going to need it.
For sure. You never know, for real. And it's crazy because I wanted to get some swords, but my roommates and them said no, because you never know. I don't want to get too much into it, but you never know when situations call for it. You're just pulling out a sword for no reason. So it's like, ugh. Moving on to my next question is basically, and my final question is there do you guys have any ideas for a part 2, or what's the next project, or is sky's the limit? Like,
so as Erin said previously, we've got another film that we just filmed earlier this year. It's just like a straight horror film. It's called It's Watching. So that'll be somewhere in the future, like next year. We're in post-production now, kind of paused that to do a lot of the promotion on ZombieCon. And ZombieCon, it's very much set up like an anime series. So I've got 2, 3, 4, and 5 written with a story that expands to volume 10. And from there, that's like kind of a closing on that current world. And I've also got an idea for interim, basically, episodes that fill in time gaps between them for like possibly an animated series. So I don't know how, obviously a lot of that requires a ton of investment. And I'm not sure exactly where that money will come from, but we found money to make the first one, and we're going into 2026 being like, okay, volume 2, let's get pre-production going, and let's get it made, and we'll find a way to do it. So we just gotta think creatively.
Okay. So are you guys basically taking the money you make from one movie and then using it for the next movie and then going based on like that?
Yeah, basically. And then we're always open to investors.
Oh, for sure, always. Okay, so when should people plan on seeing the new movie coming out, or you guys haven't really planned on that?
I would think that if we're getting into pre-production 2026, it's usually about a year-long process, maybe a year and a half to get the whole thing made.
Did you mean It's Watching horror film?
I was talking about
yes. Production. Okay, yeah, we're hoping that next year would be its premiere, most likely next year.
It was basically done at the end of this year. I'm just doing the final audio work on it. It's already scored, it's already color corrected, it's already edited. There's just a couple of VFX shots that need to be touched up, and I've got to do a little bit of the Foley work. So, it'll be about a month left in post-production, and then from there we'll start submitting it to film festivals and start this whole rat race of getting distribution and going through this whole process again.
So between the two movies, has the team gotten bigger, or did you guys use some of the same cast members for both movies? Or
so this was a creative exercise where basically I was pregnant and we had just moved across the country, and Kyle was like, we've got this really small window before we welcome our first child, our daughter, in March. And he's like, we should make a feature film as quickly as we can with as little money as we can and get it in the can so that, we have one ready to go and it can be edited and all that. So this one was made for, I think all in all, it was like $7,000.
Yeah, it was between 5 and 10,
but like nothing, because he wrote it around assets we already had, equipment we already had, location we already had, and he ended up being the star of the film because we could use him. And it's like literally the cast I acted in as well. There might be 5 people in the entire movie.
But everyone who worked on this movie worked on ZombieCon.
That's true.
Yeah.
Mama Bear from ZombieCon, Nicole McCauley, who's a friend in real life. She's incredible. She plays my mother, actually, in this new film.
Yep. And another, a man who was integral to the making of ZombieCon, Chad Tolson, he was our boom pole operator and audio technician for ZombieCon. He reprises his role on this film as boom pole operator and sound technician, but he also gets in front of the camera this time, and he plays a pizza delivery guy.
There's a pizza delivery in this film too.
That's pretty cool. So that's you get to actually kind of work on the films, and then you get a chance to actually be in the film. So that's pretty cool. And I think what's also interesting because when you look at a lot of good horror movies, a lot of them be made on low budgets and then end up making huge money at the box office. So I think that y'all got the recipe. You know what I mean?
You never know. You never know. And like we were saying earlier, I mean, time and money are definitely the two big enemies for indie filmmakers. But just like with everything, there's a silver lining, and it forces you to be creative. And then the end product is made up of all these creative decisions that you wouldn't make if I don't think if you're a studio with hundreds of millions of dollars at your disposal.
Yeah, that's true.
For sure. And one thing I just want to give you props on is being able to take an idea and actually make it. Because I talk to a lot of people who have these ideas, but they don't ever have like the funding, or something gets too hard, or something just makes it so they are not able to finish it. So to actually be able to finish it, I got to give you guys your props on that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Very much. It taught us a lot.
It almost killed us.
We learned a lot. Yeah, about never giving up. We practiced what we preached and never gave up and just kept learning and took the L's along with the small W's, but it finally did get released. So
yeah.
Whew.
All right. And with that, we basically wrapped up our interview. I don't know if there's anything else you want to discuss or talk about before we close out.
I would love to say where they can find it. So it's currently out on VOD, any major VOD platform in USA or Canada where you can buy or rent movies, Apple TV, Amazon Prime, YouTube Movies. Basically, you search for it and you will find it there in order to buy or rent it. But also the DVD is out. That's on Amazon Prime. We touched on it earlier, but it's got extended scenes, behind the scenes, filmmaker commentary, a whole bunch of fun stuff. So check that out. If you like
especially if you are like just trying to figure out how to do a smaller project. A lot of our behind the scenes will actually show like what it looks like to film a film on this low of a budget. Yeah. Which I think could be helpful to people. And we try to do it a lot of podcasts. So if you follow us at ZombieCON Movie across all platforms, and I've been trying to throw as much information as I can out to the ether without like doing a straight up like, this is how you make a movie. But if you're kind of interested in figuring out how to piece together a film on your own, I would definitely say hit up those resources. And I mean, not just those, but also like YouTube in general. I would point people to like Film Riot and stuff like that to kind of, learn about filmmaking, which has kind of been part of our goal. So
that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. When you were saying that, I was thinking of ideas of like the fact when y'all making the movies and stuff, y'all could make like TikTok showing people like the before scenes and stuff like that, and how y'all made it and stuff like that. And that probably could help fund the movies and stuff like that too, because I think that'd be interesting to see that kind of stuff myself.
And way back when we filmed it in 2016, TikTok wasn't around yet.
Yeah, we did Snapchats. Yeah, we did
a whole bunch of Snapchats that thankfully we saved, and they're included, a lot of them.
Yeah, we'll start dripping those out too, like on TikTok and stuff, so people can kind of see what it looked like, because it's not as glamorous as it looks like for like these Tom Cruise movies, man. They've got some serious cash.
99% of filmmaking is not glamorous. The 1% where you're yelling action and things are going right. It's about the only glamorous time.
All right. And with that, I want to end today's episode. I want to thank my guests for coming on and explaining their movie, ZombieCON Volume 1. Hopefully you guys are hyped to go watch it or to go make your own movie. But before we close out, I just want to let my guests plug themselves, basically tell everybody where they can find you.
At ZombieCON Movie across all social media, and then our website is ZombieCON 1. That's the number 1.com. And feel free to reach out, because we run our own social media. Would love to hear any questions or any thoughts you have on the film. We love hearing all of it. And also, thank you so much for having us on. This has been an absolute blast. Really appreciate it, especially because your anime centric YouTube channel is like exactly who we made this film for.
And I know you've got your background blurred, so I don't want to like call anything out, but I recognize a piece of art to your left. I think it's your left, and that's
right
like
here.
Naruto.
That's my favorite, like one of my favorite pieces of art. We have that exact same print. Like that has always been one of my favorite pieces of like anime art, like recreation. Anyway, just love. I wanted to say that was awesome. So
I'm glad you called that out because I've been trying to get some more of these from different animes because man, it's fucking dope.
Yeah. Dude, I've spent so much time just staring at that thing and looking at all the details on all the different characters. Like, it's a fantastic piece of art. It's a great print.
I'm really trying to get the rest of the walls really nice before I can really show the background because I like how the background of yours looks with all the games and stuff, and then you got is that a Call of Duty gun?
That's so that's from Aliens. That's a smart gun.
Okay.
Or not a smart gun, a pulse rifle rather from Aliens.
We're actually at his parents' house, so this is part of his dad's collection. His dad's I married into a family of collectors. So yeah, there's stuff everywhere that's amazing and film centric and props.
There's actually do you want to grab one of those? Go ahead, grab one of those. This is actually a boken from The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise that was actually used on the film. So I don't know if you remember that movie where he's got the scene where he's training with the kid like in the rain. So they probably made like 100 or 200 of these things. It's not like very rare, but it's pretty cool.
Got one. It's dope.
Yeah, yeah. So it's his, but I'll take it.
Well, with that, I just want to say peace.
Peace.